This is definitely a hot topic for those wellness coaches, business owners who want to use public speaking as a way of growing their business and their practice. The do's and don'ts when public speaking. And this is also applicable to camera work as well. This list can be quite long, all the do's and don'ts of public speaking. And what I want to concentrate on this specific video is for those people who are using public speaking, camera work, seminars, whatever it might be, where you're talking to groups of people, either electronically or in person, as a way of selling your services. Because you could do public speaking just to do public speaking and go to Toastmasters and do all that great stuff. But ultimately, there is a different skill set needed when you are actually selling your product. It's Tom Jackobs. This channel is for those solo practitioners, solopreneurs who want to grow their business through really good sales processes that take that presentation, move it into a performance so that you get more profits in your business. Now, the distinction here is you could be doing speeches for the speech's sake, but there's a difference when you are doing a public talk for the purpose of selling your services. It's a different skill set and different do's and don'ts that apply. And that's what I want to concentrate on this video, because I want to help you grow your practice and get more profits. The first don't when selling from your presentation, again, whether it's on camera or on stage, is that you don't want to hide the fact that there is going to be an offer given as part of the presentation. You've probably been to those seminars where the person talks a little around a subject a bit and then at the end says, oh, you need to buy my product. And you're like, wait a second, I came here to learn something and you didn't really teach me anything. And so why would I buy your product in the first place? And it was kind of like a surprise that they even offered to sell you something. You weren't even expecting it. As part of your presentation at the very beginning, be very honest and straightforward with your audience and let them know that there will be an offer to go deeper, that this hour that you're spending with them or 2 hours or whatever it happens to be is what they need to be doing. And if they find this helpful, then they can talk to you further about going deeper into the process. This way, they aren't surprised at the end when you say, let's book a call, here, sign up for my program, whatever the call to action happens to be. They're not surprised by that. And they actually respect you more for being very upfront and saying, we only have an hour together, and there's no way that I can go through everything in that hour. So if this is of interest to you, then at the end of the presentation, I'll give you the opportunity to work with me deeper if that makes sense to you. And you do it like that, and then people are like, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll figure it out. Second, is that you need to actually script out your entire presentation. And while some people like to do bullet points, I find personally, and especially when I'm working with my private clients, that doing bullet points leaves way too much openness in the presentation, and you don't actually have the right words to use during the presentation. And in fact, every presentation that I do, including this video right now, I have scripted out longhand, well, typed out, not really longhand, but I've typed out every single word that I'm saying. Now, I'm not reading from the script. I mean, it's right here so that I can go back and look at it when I need to. But ultimately, when you are giving a presentation and having it scripted out, you need to have the right word choices in the right order so that you are compelling your audience to take the action that you want them to take. And the only way that I've seen to do that is to write it out longhand. Now, I have another video on how not to sound scripted, and you probably should check that out as well, so that you're not sounding scripted even though you have a script that you prepared. The third do is about movement as you are moving around, whether on video or on a stage. And I don't know if you've been to these presentations, I certainly have, where it's like a tennis match, right? The presenter is just walking back and forth on the stage and you're like, oh my gosh, stand still. I'm distracted. I don't even hear the words that they are saying. when you're moving on stage or even on camera, it needs to be very intentional. And what I always recommend is, as we're going through the scripting, we actually block out, and that's a theater term, blocking. You block out exactly where to move on the stage so that it is very intentional. And just a very easy way of doing that is anytime that you're changing a topic or a subject, you want to add a pause anyway and let that all sink into your audience's head, and then use that opportunity to move. I have a general rule that you either talk or you walk. You don't do both. And I don't know about you, but I have a hard time walking and talking at the same time. So having this rule in place and knowing exactly where on the stage that you need to be speaking from at the specific times makes it really easy to have intentional movements that keep the audience engaged and doesn't distract them. The fourth do is what to do with your hands. You know, having your hands in your pockets, although you can't see that right now, or crossed, or just like all over the place, or in front of your mouth. All of those type of movements are kind of nervous type of movements. And just like walking on the stage and where you're placed on the stage, you need to have the hand movements to be, and yes, you see, I'm just like, hello hands. You need your hand movements to be very intentional as well. You see a lot of politicians, they love to do this pointing. I don't like that personally. You know, having the palms up is a good general rule. And then you don't want to be hands on hips either. You kind of look like a teapot. I think somebody, teapot, like that. You know, it's just, look at yourself on stage, and just in general is just, you know, standing firm like this and then using your hands to emphasize a point. Kind of like that. And lastly, the fifth do is practice. Practice, practice, practice. And when you thought you've practiced enough, practice a little bit more. That is how you are going to get really good at speaking and not being nervous as well. A lot of people like to go on the fly and speak. And unless you've done this for years and years and years, and you've done the same presentation over and over and over again, that's your practice, then you can do it kind of on the fly. But for somebody that's doing a brand new presentation, especially for myself, when I create a new presentation, I practice and practice and practice so that it, one, becomes very natural. I don't have to think about, okay, now I move, and now I move, and now what do I talk about? You know, it becomes more natural because you've gone through it so many times that it just becomes this unconsciousness of you just know what to do because you practice it so often. Well, there you go, the 5 do's and don'ts of public speaking so that you have a really great presentation with the purpose of selling your product or service. Now, I've put together another video right here that I know you're going to enjoy because it's all about how not to sound scripted, like I talked about before. So make sure you check that out, and until next time, you have a great day.